Hey, Bass, check these bad boys out.
Wow. Those are incredible looking, aren't they?
I mean, it's so simple.
Yeah. Boom.
We've
Look at that.
got the Cheyne Horan new NVS collaboration fin in our hands right now. So go to YouTube, look at it. Go
Those
to
things are
our
sweet.
YouTube channel. So here's the deal. Obviously, Shane has been rocking this fin for a long time. It's now made widely available through NVS, but it's a straight up fin. It's almost too simple. It defies logic by its simplicity. I thought that we needed rake. I thought that we needed cant. Isn't this everything that we learned? Why would this work?
Well, here's what we do know about fins in general, and you and I have pontificated at length about this. There's no right or wrong way regarding fins and surf equipment. And that's because of the ever changing nature of waves. They change constantly, and the boards change, and the characteristics of the boards. And there's just a constant flux. It's a dynamism that we're dealing with. And so anything can work and everything works. And that's just the bottom line.
Man, that's not inaccurate, but it somehow makes everything more complicated for me. Well, have you ridden yours yet? I've got the twins. What do you got?
Yeah, I got the twins.
Okay,
I have
but you
not.
have not ridden them.
The waves have been pretty small,
Yeah.
Lilliputian in nature.
Yes, they have been. So I've got mine just arrived, or I just got mine 2 days ago, actually. But I have three boards, three twin fins queued up in the garage. So I'm going to try these fins on three different surfboards to really give it a proper shot. Um, but I have high hopes just because obviously I believe Cheyne Horan and I've seen him surf on these fins and they look incredible. But like I said, kind of flies in the face of everything else. Like, to be honest, the C drive fins are my best uh twin fin set that I have that I've been riding for 2 or 3 years now. So these are going to have to be better than the C drives for me to make the switch.
I'm looking forward to, I mean, I love this. I love unique stuff. And some of the greatest surfboards I've ever had have been, how do you say, not traditional in their look.
Yeah. Um the just to give people an idea who aren't looking at these visually, maybe they're listening on to the podcast. It's straight up. There's no cant. There's almost equal foil on either side, and it's I'd say 6 inches at the base and pretty straight up, almost like a rectangle. And then the top is about 3 inches. So it only tapers maybe 50%. Um, so it's basically just a big rectangle almost that goes straight up and down. And there's no, like I said, no cant. There's a little bit of cant actually, but interesting fins. Go to surfnvs.com if you want to get them. Like I said, we've seen these from Cheyne Horan for decades now, but NVS is making them widely available. They just dropped yesterday. So surfnvs.com if you want to get a pair of your own. And then Scott, also Real Water Sports. What a cool message we got from Trip Foreman. Trip Foreman from Real Water Sports, our boy there, is in G Land. And he texted us to say that there is a crew of Aussies there at camp who are big fans and listeners to the show. So shout out to the Aussie crew.
Yeah, that's kind of fun, right? That he's there, and is he in G land or I think he's at Uluwatu?
Oh, I thought he
But
said G Man.
oh, maybe he is at G land. Okay, either way, he's in.
Let's not blow up his spot. He's somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Go visit Trip and ride a wave with him. No, yeah. Look, I mean, a bunch of listeners are over there. That's super fun, and I'm sure Trip deserves a vacation. The guy's a hardworking character.
Yeah, absolutely. So shout out to the listeners. And then of course, oh, he also said there was a dude named Hendrik from Sweden who he met. And turns out Hendrik bought his entire quiver for his trip from Real Water Sports. So he's from Sweden. They connect in Indonesia and they make the connection. Oh my gosh, you're the guy who has the retail shop that I listened to on this podcast. That's unbelievable. I bought all my boards from you. You shipped them to me in Sweden, and here we are in Indonesia. So Hendrik used the surfboard review videos that Real Water Sports does, which are very thorough and detailed. They often include the shaper. They often include Brett Barley test piloting the boards, and then Trip kind of asking questions and, picking apart everything. So you can go on there and benefit from those videos as well. They're entertaining, if nothing else, informative, but entertaining as well. So you can check it all out at Real Water Sports.
Small world. How cool is that to meet a guy who used the website and
I know.
purchased all his boards, and they meet in the middle of nowhere in the Indian Ocean.
That's what we love about the surf world. It's small at the end of the day.
That happened to me when I was over there. I was randomly surfing and I saw this person catch a couple waves, and they saw me, and we looked at each other and we're like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And it was Landy from Landy Wetsuits, and she lives in Hawaii and in San Diego, and just randomly, I mean, out in the middle of nowhere, one of those situations. Hey, good to see you.
It's crazy. It's the
Yeah.
surfing world for you.
Yeah.
As we see some movement at the takeoff zone, it's Kelly Slater grabbing rail.
Oh, yeah, guy. Yeah. Yeah, guy, David. Good morning. It is August 7th. It's the 89th year of my father's life. It's his birthday today. He's 89. We're going out to a big meal here this evening.
Incredible. Happy birthday, Mr. Bass. That's huge. It's my stepmom's and my brother's birthday tomorrow, in
Oh,
fact.
okay, cool.
So it's a popular time of year for birthdays, apparently.
Yes, I guess it is. So anyway, we've got a lot going on in the surf world. The Olympics have finished. I have some news from mainland Mexico. And of course, I also have a Who Said That, and there's some other stuff happening. What about you?
Well, yeah, there's all of that. And then last night, Stab Magazine just dropped a new episode of How Surfers Get Paid. So I don't know if you got a chance to watch that or not, but we could discuss next week if not.
Yeah, I didn't. I saw it this morning and I
No, it's
was
okay.
kicking myself.
Yeah, it's we'll get into it, but I did want to kick off this show by welcoming new listeners. I don't know if you noticed, but last week on YouTube, we had our most viewed video ever by a long margin. Last week's episode of this show has 22,000 views.
Wow.
Last I checked yesterday.
That's that's great.
It's our most viewed episode by a long margin. So I just wanted to say welcome to anybody who is new to the show. We've been here since September 2013, 11 years. And it's easy for me to feel over those last 11 years that we plateaued, and that anybody who listens to podcasts and likes surfing has already found us and either decided to continue listening or decided not to. But we're basically speaking to the same audience week in and week out, because guess what? They've emailed us, they've DM'd us on Instagram, and there is a rapport, there's a back and forth, there's an ongoing conversation. We're like-minded people, and that's how it's felt for a very long time. So it's really cool to think that now, 11 years on, we've really unlocked and found a new audience through the platform of YouTube, actually. That's the main difference, and the reason why, because we're still doing the same thing. It's just we're now broadcasting it on a new channel. And so hearing people say that they finally found us, or they're glad they found us, and they can't believe that they didn't know we existed before, is really, really cool. So shout out, welcome.
Yeah, welcome to the new listeners. Right on. New viewers, I guess they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Followers, subscribers. I don't know. All I know is that they're surfers, and that's always fun. It's always fun to converse and discuss things and have the viewers chime in as well.
Well, great segue, actually. Chiming in is key, because we gave away that Channel Islands everyday surfboard bag a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
I think these giveaways are a no-brainer. I think we should do these weekly. We have sponsors who would be glad to donate product. Our listeners would be stoked to get it. It encourages people to engage, of course, by leaving a comment, which juices the algorithm.
Right.
Which, it's funny that we would do that one week, and then the very following week we have 22,000 views on the next video. So I do think that there is a correlation there. But the bedrock of this business, and the reason we're here 11 years later, is through listener support. So I'd hate to shower all the love on new listeners and not celebrate the hardcore fans that have been with us for a decade. So what we want to do is we are going to give something away this week, but You can only win it if you're actually a podcast supporter for $5 a month. So you could set up support on surfsplendorpodcast.com. Click the support button. It's $5 a month. We divide that money up by number of downloads, spread it across everybody equally, and we don't paywall any content. It's all available for free. That's the thing with some of these.
Let's give away a surfboard, David. Let's give away a surfboard. I swear to God.
You got
you
one
and
to give
I.
away?
Let's just go in on a board.
We've given away a lot of surfboards.
What's the cost of a board? Let's give away a surfboard.
What do you want to give away?
I don't know. This just came to me. Like, I was thinking if I was a listener and I'd be like, oh, they're trying to get me to subscribe for $5 a month. Blah, blah, blah. You know, I would want to be enticed. I would want there to be some really good reason for me to do that. And I think winning a surfboard would be good. I have no idea, but I think a surfboard, I think it would be lame to go, we're giving away a sticker.
I'm not giving away a sticker.
Let's give away a surfboard, for God's sake.
I've given away plenty of surfboards.
I know you have.
So I'm totally down to give away a surfboard, but for a comment, I'm giving away, or we've got to give away a Channel Islands. We gave away the Channel Islands everyday bag, but we've got a fin and accessory case available this week to give away for a commenter. So I don't have one handy here, but are you familiar with what I'm talking about? It's basically a surf purse.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Channel Islands accessory case. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have one handy, but it's basically clear and separate compartments that keep your wax from getting everything else waxy, basically. Keeps your fins separate. You can roll it up. It has a hook closure. So you kind of unroll this thing and you have room for tons of different sets of fins, wax, fin keys, stuff like that. Or then roll it up tight and then unroll it, hang it on the back of your car so you can access everything. Super cool. All you got to do, leave a comment on YouTube. We're not going to dictate the type of comment. Like, you don't have to tell a story or whatever. Just engage with this video on YouTube in a meaningful way. Maybe it's funny. Maybe it's scandalous. Who knows? Just leave a comment engaging with the episode, your thoughts on the episode. And at the end of the week, Devin Howard is going to get on there and he's going to pick his favorite comment and you will win the fin and accessory case, but only if you are a subscriber and you're contributing to the show. How's that?
Okay. That's a great way to engage and to thank those that have been with us for a long time and
juice the algorithm.
And we welcome the new guy too. So, and gal.
Exactly. And then the fin and accessory bag, you can check it out on cisurfboards.com. If you don't win one, but you want one and that sounds cool, of course, cisurfboards.com is where you get them. But Scott, I'm down to give away a board too. Let's figure out who we want. Let's do it next month, or I guess we can do it this month. It's early enough in the month.
Yeah, let's figure out a fun way to do it. I guess we don't need to reinvent the wheel though. You've got it kind of figured out. Just leave a comment, but let's think about it. Let's about an interesting comment that needs to, or something that engages more commentary on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But shout out and thanks, YouTubers.
Yeah. Thanks. David, I have a Who Said That? This is our chance to for me to kind of stump you in a rather small fashion, just sort of a question, if you will, an opportunity for me to stump you. Okay, you ready for this? Who said that?
I'm ready.
Joey Cabell and I were out at the point at sunset. This was probably 1958. I was 15 or 16 years old. We decided to walk up the beach a little. We went through some bushes around the end of the point and found this spot, a reef break. It was good. So we're out there riding, me and Joey, having a great time. And all of a sudden we see all these guys taking pictures of us. Everybody, Bud Brown, Bruce Brown, Grant Roloff, Greg Knoll, they were all there. Joey and I are sitting in the water with all these lenses sticking out of the bushes. We get out and somebody asked us the name of the place. And I said, Velzyy Land, because I worked for Velzyy and because I always wanted to go to Disneyland. From then on, it was Velzyy Land. David, who said this? Was it 1, Bing Copeland, 2, Donald Takayama, or 3, Rabbit Kakai?
Man, I feel like we just discussed this, and none of those names sound familiar to me.
Do, do,
Um,
do, 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 do.
I gotta go rabbit, I guess.
Rabbit Kick High is wrong. Donald Takayama named Velzyy Land. He and Joey Cabell surfing it by themselves. Saw a camera crew on the beach. Went onto the beach. They all said, "Hey, what's the name of this place?" And Donald, wanting to go to Disneyland and working for Dale Velzyy, said, "Hey, man, it's Velzyy Land." Donald Takayama named Velzyy Land. Isn't that great?
That's a great story. But didn't we just discuss how did Velzyy Land get its name like
I feel
3
like we
months ago?
did. I
We
feel
did.
like-
So
who else named it?
well, we were confused at the time. We didn't have an answer, but I feel like
I
yeah,
think I was
no,
discussing Dale Velzyy. I think I had a quote or something from Dale Velzyy or something like that.
yeah.
You know, the Bonsai Pipeline was named by a famous shaper as well. Do you know who named the Bonsai Pipeline? Real quick, extra added bonus. Very famous shaper.
Can you give me a multiple choice?
Yes. One, was it Dick Brewer? Two, was it Mike Diffenderfer? And three, was it Pat Curran?
Oh gosh, Diffenderfer.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mike Diffenderfer called
Yeah.
it the Bonsai Pipeline because it was so round and cylindrical that it looked like a pipeline. Mike Diffenderfer named Pipeline.
no, but there was
Interesting, right? The names of spots, how they've come about.
I mean, that's a logical story. But the other story that I've heard about Pipeline was that there was pipes being built, like plumbing being built at that time along the side of the road.
I
There
think
was
that's part of it.
construction. Yeah, there was construction going on, and it was like Diff looked over and saw that, and then saw the wave, and that was the connection that was made. But it's a pretty logical name for the pipeline. Velzyy Land is a little less logical, especially since Del Velzyy wasn't there surfing it. That was the confusing part.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And other, like when you think about other spots, especially on the North Shore, because there's some random names to spots, like marijuanas, like who named marijuanas? Who named
Right.
leftovers?
Right. Monster Mush.
Yeah, who named Monster Mush? I think I want to say the Australians named Monster. I don't think Monster Mush had a name until like MR and those guys were sort of relegated to surf the shitty little end section of Rocky Point. It was so mushy. They're like, let's go surf Monster Mush again. I could be wrong, but I for some reason that's a story I've heard.
I mean, like Rocky Point makes sense. Rocky Rights makes sense. But then and even log cabins make sense. You know what I mean? There's usually a logical connection that you can make, but others not so much.
What's that? I'm drawing a blank. What's that little wave that's just to the pipeline side of Rocky Rights that's super shallow and it's kind of a crazy little peak?
Yeah.
Can't remember the name of it. But anyway, that's one of those ones where it's like, who named that place?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember either. What about Alligator Reef?
Yeah, like
there's no alligators.
Who named Holton's?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, hey,
somebody knows.
Huge news of the week. It's the Olympics, right?
The Olympics. Oh my! What are your thoughts on them? I'll tell you mine. I was rather bored by the Olympic coverage. I found it boring.
By the Olympic coverage?
Just the event itself. Found the event. There was just that one day where it was like, okay, exciting. But the swell was sort of lacking a lot of the times, especially the finals day. It was just like this rising swell that never really showed up. And, there were some great rides but overall, I don't know. I sat on my couch and watched it and I found myself fading away.
Totally agree. Well, totally agree. Yeah. I mean, look, it was a huge letdown. I mean, the anticipation, everything builds to a head. Well, certainly with day 3, everything was so exciting, but you maintain that excitement for another day or two, and you're anticipating a finals match and a gold medal and figuring out, and it just slowly dissipates into, nothingness to the point that it's like, you've lost all interest in the core, you've lost all interest in the non-core, like nobody cares anymore. And so then when the event gets called on and the waves aren't pumping again, it's like you have to almost feign your excitement and pretend like you're still engaged in it. So I definitely understand why you feel that way. And I do think that's a huge problem for just a viewing audience. I don't think, look, if day 3 of the Olympics at Teahupo'o doesn't engage the mass community or the non-surfing community, no day ever will. And we already had that happen, and that was the experiment, and it did not work. And so surfing will never be as big as the corporations want it to be.
Yeah. It's very nature of waiting around for 35 minutes for a couple of waves. That just does not work in this age of give me instant canoe kayaker guys going down these rapids and in a timed, and their heat one's over in 35 seconds and they set a world record.
I'm convinced now fully that surfing doesn't need to be in the Olympics. And you've often stated, look, surfing's not a sport, and that's kind of the initial premise. And so Olympics are all about sport. I feel as though the gold medalist is, in all other things, when somebody wins a gold, they are the best in the world at that sport. And there's almost no arguing against it. There's no variables that were at play that you could argue, oh no, this other person would have won no, it's just they are the best at that sport, certainly on that day. I definitely don't feel that way with surfing. In at least half of the heats, I felt like there was variables at play that would have, that determined the results more than the actual athlete's ability. So I think that makes surfing distinctly different.
And what's interesting too is you often hear, especially from the announcers, hey, look, we don't want to see, we want to see surfing. We don't want to see a paddle battle. But in fact, the paddle battle is often the most interesting part, or at least part of the most interesting part of the 35 minutes. Like when the highlight is watching them shoulder to shoulder try to outposition each other, and then to say, but nobody likes a paddle battle because we want to see lots of surfing. It's like, well, which is it? Because actually the paddle battle was the conflict that made this whole thing interesting.
Totally agree. Only in the context of sport, though. The paddle battle was the most sporting part of the heat. And so in the Olympics, that makes it more interesting. But surfing isn't a sport, and I'd rather watch surfing than watch this, quote, sport take place. But go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, yes, surfing is an athletic endeavor. People often go, Scott, what do you mean it's not a sport? And by the way, that's not to say that I don't absolutely love the sporting part of surfing. Like you and I talk about the WSL, the CT. I watch the events. I actually love it. And I think there's a place for it. But the overarching ethos of this is that it's not a sport. It's an athletic endeavor. It's an incredible athletic endeavor. But to try to quantify it in some sort of either right now subjective way or an objective way through timing or something like that, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, in order, I think we still should report the news of the Olympics. And so it should be stated, Caroline Marks won the gold for the women's. Tatiana Weston Webb won the silver. Joanne Defay won the bronze. And on the men's side, Cowley Vost won for Team France. He won the gold. Jack Robinson won the silver, and Gabriel Medina won the bronze. Going into the finals itself, you kind of already stated, were wave starved. So it was the final day of the waiting period. Swell was filling in, and we were hoping that the waves would get better throughout the day, and then the finals would run in really good surf. That did not happen. The finals got a couple of good waves, but the men's final only had 3 waves surfed in the entire heat. 2 of them by Cowley and 1 of them by Jack Robinson. Thereby Jack Robinson really didn't get a fair shot at the gold medal. The wave that Cowley got, first wave, was a 9.5, and it was insane. Like that was a wave that I feel no one else would have made other than maybe Gabriel Medina.
Yeah,
like
totally.
Cowley and Jack were, because it was wave starved, they were kind of trying to outposition one another and just had ended up so deep on the reef that it ended up being a really, really long wave that Cowley had to like really pump and navigate through. And then it kind of opened up a little bit and he had to take a different approach and he made it through that. And then it kind of ran again and he made it through that. So he just ran through like 3 distinct sections, but it was really an incredible, impressive ride. It definitely made the highlight reel. And I think Cowley showed his separation right there in talent, you know.
Totally agree. It was awesome. I thought it was a 10. I know some of the judges, I believe, gave it a 10, but it was a 9.5 after all was said and done. And the high and the low judge was thrown out. Incredible ride. And again, it was just unfortunate that, Mother Nature didn't provide more waves for us.
Yeah. And Cowley paddled back out and got an 8.17. So he really had a commanding lead. And then they sat for 22 minutes, which to your point is the death of, something like that. Yeah, the death of the audience. So really unfortunate, but interestingly, Cowley flew out that very night. He won the gold medal, flew out that night to come here to Huntington Beach to compete in the US Open in 1-foot waves.
Oh, that's interesting because I was wondering if the gold medalists, not even the gold medalists, excuse me, all of the teams, all of the international surfing teams were given the opportunity to fly to Paris for the closing ceremonies. I mean, that's a big part of the Olympics. The big part for a majority of the athletes is the opening ceremonies and the closing ceremonies. You get to feel all of the pomp and circumstance and your nationalism is on display. And I was asking myself, hey, self, do the surfers get to fly to Paris for the closing ceremonies, which is, again, a big deal?
Yeah, I think they have the opportunity to, but he apparently picked something else, which was competing in the US Open.
How would that be? You could just fly over there and just kind of like knock on the Olympic Village door and go, yeah, I'm actually a Team France member. And they're like, who are you? You got salt rimmed nostrils. Get out of here. But they let you in. Like somebody could impersonate and just go, yeah.
If you flash that gold medal, they'll let you in anywhere.
I guess.
So on the women's side, it ended up being Caroline Marks and Tatiana Weston Webb in the final. And what's interesting here, I think, I've seen both of them going to Teahupo'o for the last decade on surf trips, dedicated surf trips for swells. And they are among the only 2 female surfers on the CT that I've seen making that effort. And so I don't think it's any surprise that they ended up in the final. They have been preparing for this.
Yeah, it was, I wasn't surprised either. And congratulations to both of them, especially Carolyn for winning the gold. And yeah, I don't know.
Well, Caroline,
I didn't really think they surfed that well. I mean, I've seen them surf better, but especially Tati. They looked a little, just slightly, ever so slightly, I'm being hypercritical, but they looked a little almost nervous or not quite, they didn't quite have their feet under them on every turn.
Yeah. So I feel like Caroline Marks looked, you can kind of split. If you go look at the 2 scores for each of the girls, it's pretty close. But if you just look at the surfing, I think Caroline was head and shoulders above Tatiana Weston Webb. She looked more powerful, more confident, more strong, more capable, more everything. I think Tati definitely exhibited what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But beyond that, Tati actually had plenty of opportunities to win this heat. She aided on her opening wave, which was potentially an excellent score. Like they were kind of paddle battling each other. So she was a little bit out of position and had to like race into position and spin around and go on that wave. So she was a little bit out of position, but she ate it. Could have been an excellent score. And other waves came through that she had the opportunity on that she simply didn't make or was out of position for. So there was, as opposed to the men's heat where Jack got 1 wave, you never really got to see him open up. Tati got many opportunities and she just essentially undersurfed the waves. It ended up coming down to a buzzer beater or like a post buzzer score that needed to be read out. And Tati only needed a 4.68. They're waiting in the channel. Scores get read out. She got a 4.5. Again, going back and watching that wave, I think that she did get a 4.5. I think the judges actually nailed this one, and she took home the silver and Caroline took home the gold. And yeah, I think, again, if there's any question whether or not surfing should be in the Olympics, this is another point of like, the scores are, there's an uncertainty. Like, you can argue that Caroline's 7 probably shouldn't have been a 7. It was a little overscored. It was just exciting because somebody finally got a good wave, so they gave her a 7. But if you actually downgraded that score slightly, then Tati would end up winning the gold in this scenario by that 4.5 at the end. So it's just, there's too many little things like that where it's like, I don't know, dude. It shouldn't be. Swimming is definitive. Running is definitive. You know, you watch these things and you're like, this determines gold versus silver for the Olympics. I don't know.
And it's so much better when a gold medal event takes less than a minute. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, 35 minutes to watch probably 15 seconds of surfing.
Yeah.
There's a problem there. And,
so,
yeah.
But huge congratulations to Caroline Marks, because, by the way, she is our current world champ and now a gold medalist all within 1 year. I think that's a huge story.
And the other big story, especially on the women's side, is Carissa Moore retiring. It was a tearjerker moment on Instagram and throughout, wherever you get your information about Carissa Moore. You really got the sense that she's kind of moving on to a different phase in her life. And she's really, I don't think we can give her enough kudos and enough thank yous for being just such a stellar human being. You know, now look, 99.9% of them are all stellar human beings, but Carissa really is, well, she's Mother Carissa, right? Mother Teresa. She's just got a saintly quality about her.
Carissa exemplifies and exudes everything that is great about surfing. And often what happens is, so surfing is great. The act of surfing, spending time in nature, freedom of expression, all those things that we love about surfing and identify with, we can maintain throughout our surfing life because we're not really competing. But once you transition into the competitive realm, it sullies the initial kind of love of the thing, and it becomes about beating your opponent and all that sort of thing. Carissa has never let the competitive, even though her life has been dedicated to winning world titles and being competitive, she's never let any of that seemingly sully the beauty of the original conceit of surfing. It's been her own. She's made it her own. She did it on her own terms, and she won titles on her own terms throughout all of it. You know what I mean? Like, never surfed to the judging criteria, did her own thing. And she was so good at it that it became the beacon that everybody followed and the benchmark of surfing for a decade, over a decade, 15 years probably, you know? So, of course, that's not meant to undermine, of course, the titles that Tyler Wright won or Stephanie Gilmore along the way or any of that stuff. But Carissa did it on her own terms and did it at the highest level without sacrificing any of the dignity and, charm and charisma and love and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been fun to see her go out with a gold medal, because I think she was probably going to go out regardless and retire. But, you know, as I mentioned on her Instagram account, she has done something much greater than win the gold medal. She's won the gold of each and every one of us, the gold that resides in our hearts. We're giving it over to her, and she's a special lady for sure.
I think the greatest is yet to come from Carissa. To be honest, I think that the structure, the limited kind of structure of the format, the limitations of the format of competitive surfing have handcuffed her in a lot of ways, not only to explore and express what she wants to do in her personal life, but also in her surfing. And so I think the greatest is yet to come. This is, Tom Curran leaving the world tour and going on the search and putting out, so much of what I love and know and the images that I cherish from Tom Curran and the surfing I've seen him do have nothing to do with the titles that he won. It was all post titles. He has had the greatest part of his career since winning titles, and that's what I really expect to see from Carissa.
Yeah, well, that's fun. That gives us some optimism looking forward into the future here. Another thing
completely.
about the Olympics, speaking of big stories that don't have to do with the actual riding of waves, is, and I don't know if you and I spoke about it last time, but this Australian judge who was told to go home.
We didn't discuss it. It happened after our show last week.
Hold on for just a sec.
Okay. Yeah, sure. rocketmoney.com/surf. Just this week, my wife figured out she was paying a subscription for Showtime, but then also paying for Paramount Plus, which includes Showtime for free. That's precisely what Rocket Money was designed for. A modern tool that meticulously tracks the details that we easily get distracted from. It's a finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your monthly spending, and helps you lower your bills. It gives you freedom by helping you see your subscriptions in a simple dashboard and alerts you about hidden fees or increases. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has helped save its members an average of $720 a year with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. Stop wasting money on things that you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/surf. Calm the clutter in your head, simplify the tedium of your financial life, and find freedom through rocketmoney.com/surf.
And we're back.
We're back. So the Ben Lowe is what you were getting at. Ben Lowe, the judge who got sent home.
Yeah. So I don't know. Can you set up the listeners? I'm sure everyone knows about it.
So during the lay days before the final day, there was some controversy that sprouted up on the internet, where all controversy starts nowadays. And Ben Lowe, the Australian judge, was sent home for fraternizing, essentially, for a photo of him standing with the Australian coach, Bede Durbich, and the Australian athlete, Ethan Ewing, posing on the dock with their arms around each other that said, "Brothers from North Stradbroke Island." They posted on their Instagram stories. People took umbrage with it, said the athletes should not be fraternizing with the judges, and the IOC took that seriously and sent Ben Lowe home.
Yeah, it was definitely a bad look. And, judges are supposed to have a high level of discretion. And this was just, he didn't really do the best thing here by taking, I'm sure that it was just, hey, look, just so randomly, they just happened to be on the dock together. And they're like, hey, 3 Stratty boys, let's get a photos of the 3 Stratty boys. And not too much thought was put into it, obviously. And of course, it came out and it looks horrible when a judge is fraternizing with one of the other Olympic competitors and the team coach. And so, bad look, not super smart, sent home, probably the right thing to do, lesson learned. And I know there was some backstory from the Tokyo Olympics regarding Ben Lowe and Gabe Medina and some scoring, and some people with a lot of time on their hands went back and did some of the legwork on that. And it ends up that there's really no story there, that Ben Lowe certainly just, there was no proof that Ben Lowe in some way. Go ahead.
So I totally take the opposite approach for this story than you did.
Yeah.
The photo went online. Pedro Scooby, who is a Brazilian surfer, is the one who actually amplified the message and wrote text on it, and then called for the IOC to investigate further and pointed the finger. And to me, that is the offense right there. I see the photo of 3 people hanging out on the dock as not offensive at all. The allegation and the implication made by Pedro Scooby was that because these people are from the same area and because they know one another, that the judge is going to then change give Ethan Ewing better scores than a Brazilian surfer, which is an asinine and offensive, and honestly grounds for maybe illegal, like a lawsuit for grounds, unlawful termination of employment. Because of course, you don't have to put a photo of them together on the dock. He's Australian, they're from the same area. So the implication of indiscretion from the judging panel could be made just by that association. You don't need a photo of them on the dock together. We know they're from the same place. Does that mean Brazilian surfers can't give unbiased judging towards, or Brazilian judges can't give unbiased judging towards Brazilian surfers. No, the point is they're judges and they're professional. And so they're meant to do their job right. And you just have to believe that they do. And you can even look at their scores, which they did. Like you said, somebody at the inertia went through and checked all the score lines. And in fact, Ben Lowe scored the Australian surfers lower than the average on average, and the Brazilian surfers higher than the average on average. So the implication is entirely false from the get-go. And so I think it's a terrible decision for the IOC to send him home because there's no proof in the pudding. The implication was made on the internet by some rando, and everybody got scared. And so they fired this guy, who, by the way, has an exemplary record. He's been a judge for the WSL for 18 years. He has a phenomenal record. So to send him home is actually a mistake. And then furthermore, it's just more work for the IOC. It's like, how do you replace a judge at that high of a level who has 18 years of experience? Like, are you going to find somebody else who has 18 years of experience to put him in? No, he was qualified to do the job. He was doing the job. Of course, the surfing world is small and we all have friends. There's no way to divorce and separate judging the surfing judges from the surfing world. Like if you're a judge in surfing, that means you love surfing. You grew up surfing, probably. You've been doing it for a long time. You do it at a relatively high level. You know all the pro surfers. That's the nature of the beast. There's no way to divorce these things. So I say shame on Pedro Scooby, shame on anybody who jumped on this bandwagon, because it's an offensive allegation to make.
Yeah, it's interesting because there is certainly a code of ethics that the IOC puts out regarding judges and international athletes and their ability to fraternize with each other. And you could certainly make the argument, if you read the letter of the law, that they violated that code. And therefore
by taking a photo together on a dock.
I'm not,
look, they're not in a judging booth reviewing
I'm not
footage
saying
together.
it's right. I'm just telling you, like, if you look at the letter of the law and comb through it with a comb, it's not, I think it's a violation of the code. I'm not saying what happened is, like I said. So
I'd be curious to look at the letter of the law, actually. And is there anywhere in there that says you're not allowed to take a photo with an athlete?
I don't know. I mean, I could do a quick,
No need to do it on air.
Right.
But
let's look into that.
But you know what I mean?
believe that there's no, you're not supposed to fraternize. There's an acknowledgement that there could be a passing of one Australian surfer with one Australian judge on a dock or on a beach as you're walking to your car or whatever, but to then stop and take photos and put it online is, I agree. There's nothing wrong with it, but it is probably a violation of the code. So in that regard, there is something wrong with it.
I would argue, or I would be curious to hear what their definition of fraternizing is, because
yeah,
do you have to look the other way? You can't make eye contact. You can't acknowledge them.
How many sentences are allowed to be?
Exactly. I mean, look, this is a small group of people that travel around the world together. They end up, and a lot of the places they travel, there's one restaurant, there's one bar. And so you end up, quote, fraternizing with the judges, just, because that's the way that it is. So I would think that Gabriel Medina or whoever the Brazilian WCT surfers are, have definitely communicated with, maybe even taken photos with judges from the WSL. Maybe they didn't post them online, so maybe that's the violation right there, is just posting it online because it looks bad. But it doesn't look bad to me, because as Derek Riley wrote, Stradbroke has 2,000 people that live there. Turns out 3 of them all happen to be on this dock together in Tahiti. That's a pretty remarkable odds. So why wouldn't you take a photo together? There's nothing untoward about it. You know what I mean?
I totally agree.
So to imply that there is just ridiculous. And it undermines, by the way, Pedro Scooby, it undermines everything that we're doing here. You know what I mean? Like, it really is. Like, we're trying to elevate and make this a legitimate thing and a legitimate sport, being the Olympics, and you're just undermining it with complete nonsense and gossip and disparaging somebody who has an 18-year career with, like I said, an exemplary track record.
And I mean, look, we can go back in history and see that there's been pretty blatant violations by a bunch of different people. There's, current members of the judging panel for the WSL that fathered children with athletes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, so, so I guess now everybody better be on pins and needles. Like, we're going to want Pedro or whoever else to maybe, let's pull out all the stops here. Like, there better be a deeper line in the sand, because now that the flag's been risen up the flagpole, we expect this code of ethics to be firmly not only established, but, you know, taken into account.
Well, this is the greater conversation that I think came out of the Olympics as well, which is why I feel like surfing shouldn't be the Olympics, is the level of IOC censorship that just feels so out of place in surfing. Obviously, the judge being sent home is one, because again, there's no way to extract the judges from the surf community. The judges are part of the surf community. There's no way to separate those things. It's futile to even attempt it. But also personal expression being canned. Like Jordy Smith had to cover, obviously, his logos from his sponsor with duct tape. Joao Chianca had to cover Christ the Redeemer artwork, which is obviously a famous Brazilian statue that he had on his surfboard. Jack Robinson wasn't allowed to ride his Rising Sun quiver due to the South Korean Sport and Olympic Committee saying that was an offensive artwork. All of these things, it's like,
Well, plus
look,
when you think about the opening ceremonies and how beautiful they were, and how it's all about artistry, it's all about
exactly.
expression of liberty, and there was all these themes in the opening ceremonies, which I thought were great, by the way. And now then to just go, okay, opening ceremonies are over, no more artistic expression.
Yeah. And it flies, again, it just undermines and flies in the face of the original conceit of surfing. It is about personal expression. It is about, so to try to homogenize all of it and then eliminate it, it misunderstands surfing on the most fundamental level, that what you're going to spit out on the back end will look nothing like the original athletic endeavor,
So
not
let me get
sport.
this straight. So are you suggesting that surfing should be taken out of the Olympics?
Yes, I absolutely think it should be, because it misunderstands surfing entirely, but I don't think that will happen. What I think will happen is that it'll end up being held in a wave pool and be an even more distorted and offensive reflection of the original thing.
And that move to a wave pool, are you suggesting that that's going to be made by putting pressure on the ISA from outside, specifically NBC or whoever broadcasts the Olympics, so that it's a more it's a product, it's a content product that's more easily viewable, because we can punch out waves every few minutes and it'll be better, and the mass audience is going to get it. And so what if you um you know harm the hardcore viewer? They don't care, they're going to get to watch the WSL all year anyway. And it's better. This is, by the way, the NBC production team putting pressure. This is what I'm saying, that they're going to put pressure on the ISA and say, look, let's go to a wave pool. It's going to be better for everyone. Come on. And then the ISA is going to acquiesce and go, yes. And it's going to go into a wave pool, and they might as well flush it down the toilet right there.
Yes, I do think that's exactly what will happen. I don't think that all of the pressure is going to come from the production staff and NBC. It's also coming from Felipe Toledo on Instagram last night.
No
He
way.
he commented, "I love the sea, and I don't think anything beats nature. But considering the Olympics, I think this would be the fairest way." He posted this on an Instagram account that had made an argument for the wave pool. The Instagram account is AOSMIDIA_, which is a Brazilian media outlet. So he agreed and said this would be the fairest way. Everyone would have enough chance to put their best on the wave. Let's be honest, if the sea continued as it was in round 3, Gabriel would have sucked the gold, and GNT knows that. There's a little confusion in the translation here on Instagram, but he says
Yeah.
Gabriel Medina would have won gold, is what he meant to say. The
Yeah.
pool provides this condition from start to finish. And at the end of the day, the winner is really the best surfer. If I lost in a wave pool, I would at least lose surfing and giving my best, which was not the case of Gabriel, who, in my opinion, didn't lose. He just had no chance. Every 4 years, I think an athlete needs to be prepared for this unique moment, which is the Olympics, and being able to deliver their best.
Wow. I
Your world champ, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know. I think that surfing competitions need to be held in waves of consequence.
Duh.
And
Duh.
we start, that's like, let's just, I don't know where the line is, but I know that's where the line starts.
I mean, we've already figured this out by trying to run events for the WSL at Surf Ranch. Like
Yes.
the proof is in. And so, like I said, the initial conceit is lost by everybody who's trying to jam this into a competitive format, surfing to a criteria, eliminates freedom of personal expression, all that sort of stuff. And the wave pool is just a further example of it. It's not entertaining to watch, first of all. We've proven that. And all that it is gymnastics. It's whoever can express the most dominion over their surfboard, which is not that interesting. What we want to see is the unexpected of Mother Nature providing serious consequence and somebody being able to navigate Mother Nature first and a competitor second. It's all about man versus nature. That's the conceit of surfing. And to do it this way is the exact opposite. And number one, it's not going to engage the core fans. Number two, it's not going to engage the other non-core fans because it's not entertaining to watch. You know what I mean? Like, so you're going to service nobody other than Gabriel or Felipe Toledo, because that's, his bread and butter.
Okay, let me ask you this. 4 years from now, the Olympics are in Los Angeles. You
So
and
that's
I,
the other thing.
I think we're assuming, I think the conventional wisdom is that the event's going to be held at lower trestles. Are
That's
you
the conventional wisdom.
suggesting
The other option would be Malibu.
right. Are you suggesting that this thing's going to be held at Kelly Slater's wave pool or perhaps one of the waves in Palm Springs?
Yes, that is very much a possibility at this point. Because anything, to be honest, coming off of day 3, everything's a letdown. Like day 3 was so spectacular. So now imagine 4 years from now, lowers. There's like no version of lowers that even comes close to what we already experienced. There's no version of Malibu that even makes it nearly as exciting. But what there is an equal amount of inconsistency and lulls and days off and all that sort of stuff. So I think that people who don't understand surfing can easily pitch to NBC and the production staff like, hey, we can do this in 3 days, and it's 3 guaranteed days, and we can have it blocked out on a schedule, guaranteed to run.
Yeah. Done deal. Boom.
Done.
It's done.
And just completely misunderstand that nobody will watch and nobody will care.
Well, hold on. Let me play devil's advocate. First of all, for the record, I've stated since day one that I think the Olympics and all surfing competitions should be held in waves of consequence. But I'm going to play devil's advocate and pull it back here a little bit. You and I both absolutely were, I would say we enjoyed, I'm not going to say we were enthralled by, we absolutely enjoyed Stab High in Japan. What's to say that we wouldn't enjoy the Olympics at the Palm Springs Surf Club or whatever it's called out there?
That would be a better option than Surf Ranch. I mean, the problem with Surf Ranch specifically is waves go for 90 seconds and it becomes monotonous and it's unpredictable. So, I mean, I've given this example before, but when we were on site watching the WSL event there in 2000, whatever it was, wave with Chloe Andino gets up and riding. I put my head down and keep typing on my computer because I know he's not going to do anything on those first couple sections. And I know which section of the pool is the barrel section. So then I look up for that and I watch him in the barrel for 7 seconds. Then I put my head back down. I was literally looking away from the competitive rides because I knew exactly when and where something would happen, where there was a critical section of the wave. That never happens in the ocean, right? You never look away. So Surf Ranch is more boring than, let's say, a shorter, punchier wave like Palm Springs Surf Cup or Palm Springs Surf Club. But it's still a 3
My question
to 5.
to you is I believe, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you were enthralled with Stab High Japan. I absolutely loved Stab High Japan. What's to say that we won't love Olympic High or Stab, whatever you want to call it, that version of an Olympic competition at a wave pool?
I would love if the Olympics embraced what Stab High embraced. They don't. That's not what they're about. The fun thing about Stab High was it was a pool party that happened to have surfing.
Right.
It was raucous. People are hanging on the side of the pool. People are
Zeke.
shouting things. Yeah, exactly. Zeke's cussing. You got the commentators running into the pool to get beef started between people.
So
like
there's going to
that
be a
was
cloak of Olympic sort of homogenization and sort of dourness that's going to take away the fun that was Stab High.
Sterilization. Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's like watching somebody do a cool trick in the pool really was tertiary. It wasn't even secondary. You know what I mean? Like it was third on the list. If the Olympics focus on the surfing, it then becomes gymnastics. It just is this person doing their routine.
Right.
And seeing if they can land the routine. That's not interesting unless, again, it's a wave of consequence or it's an unpredictable scenario. You know, we don't know if they're going to get the wave or not. We don't know if the waves are going to come. That all adds anticipation and drama and that sort of thing. But if you know the wave is coming and you're timing their routine and you're going to see if they hit their marks, dude, not interesting.
Understanding this, I give you this scenario. The waves are 4 to 6 feet, but there's waiting period. It could be 3 to 4 and inconsistent with a south wind. Trestles could or could not be good. We need 10 days. Or we give the Palm Springs Surf Club an opportunity. Of those two, where does David Scales want to see the Olympics in Los Angeles? At trestles with potential hideousness, but potential greatness? As far as waves, fun waves.
Are you an investor at Palm Springs Surf Co?
No, I think because for me, what it boils down to is I think I'd rather see it at trestles.
Yeah, of course. You know, the answer to your question is trestles. Yes, 100%.
But it's not a wave of consequence.
Still trestles. I mean, the pool isn't a wave of consequence either.
Well, of course not.
So I want to surf the pool. I would love to surf the pool. Love the pool. Don't want to watch anything. Don't want to watch a professional competition in the pool.
Right. Okay. I agree. I'm like, it feels like already like LA is going to be a kind of a letdown.
Certainly
LA
coming.
surfing.
So that's looking ahead here. You know, like where do we go from here? Yes, everything's a letdown after day 3. Will we ever even? So I think
it's over.
It's over. Yeah, we're not going to see even barrels in the future. Like we're not going to see people get barreled in surf contests at the Olympics in the future because,
okay, you know, hold your thought. Listen to this. The World Cup is happening. I'm not sure when, but it's in North America. It's not at one location. It's like the World Cup North America. And listeners, help me out. I could be getting some of this wrong, but what I believe is that they're having various World Cup soccer football matches throughout North America. Like there's one in Ohio, there's one in DC, there's going to be one in Louisiana, one in LA. What's to say that the Olympics doesn't take the Los Angeles Olympic Games and go, you know what? We're going to have the surfing competition at Puerto Escondido, where we can get incredible waves of consequence during an insane time of year for killer surf down there. Is this even a possibility? Can we throw this out there and start to like get this dialogue moving?
I would love to see any sort of move towards that direction, any sort of creative problem solving that way, because yes, I just have zero confidence. That's the mentality of the people making the decisions. What I do think is that they're making decisions more aligned with the pool.
Yeah.
Simplifying their life, not complicating their life.
I totally agree.
If the goal was to improve the product and the viewing experience, then yes, they would consider doing things that you're talking about. That is not the goal. The goal is to simplify everything and to make it homogenized and to make it predictable and to create an objective scoring scenario. That's the goal of the Olympics, and that's not what surfing is.
Did you know that they had an event at the Olympics this year called breaking?
Did you know dancing?
They had break dancing in the Olympics this year. I watched it.
I was aware that was happening in the past, but no, I did not watch it.
So what I'm suggesting to you is that we are actually going to be boiling down surfing to basically aquatic breaking.
Yeah.
That's what Olympic surfing is going to become. Aquatic breaking.
Yeah, we're on the way. Yeah.
I think we need a bumper sticker. No aquatic breaking.
So it should be stated, surfing has only been in the Olympics twice now, and I have a list of gold medaling countries to read to you.
Yeah.
if surfing does go away, this list will be locked in as USA, the greatest winner of all time. 2 gold medals for the USA team thus far in 2 Olympics. That's Carissa Moore and Caroline Marks. We only have 2 medals, but they're both gold, which I think is worth more than any number of silvers or bronze. Brazil has 3 medals, but only 1 gold, 1 silver, 1 bronze. Italo, Tati, Gabe. France has 2 medals, which is pretty impressive. 1 gold, Calivast, and 1 bronze this year coming from Joanne DeFay, who surfed incredibly, by the way. Joanne was a highlight for me.
Yeah.
Japan, 2 medals. Silver, both of them in the Japan Olympics. Silver from Kanoa, and then the bronze from Amuro Tatsuki. Australia, shockingly, only has 2 medals. Silver from Jack Robinson and a bronze from Owen Wright. And then, you know what the other medaling country is, Scott Bass? You'd have to go back 4 years.
I'm going to say like maybe Peru.
South Africa.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
Bianca Buitendog got silver in the Olympics at Tokyo. So those are the medaling countries. USA, number 1. Number 1.
Okay. All right.
So the other quick highlight of the event, Mike Parsons.
Yeah. Mike Parsons did a great job for sure.
Yeah. Love me some Parsons.
All right. Well, I've got some rather interesting news. California surfers apparently have bought exclusive access to surf the mainland Mexico surf spot, Barra de la Cruz, for $20,000. $20,000. Have you heard about this story, David?
I saw the headlines. I didn't read any of the articles. I presumed it's just they rented out the camp for 4 days or whatever it was. But what's the story?
I think that's the story, right? So apparently you're not as intrigued by this. I feel like renting out the ocean is kind of weird, but a seasoned Mexico surf traveler, and I'm going to read a little bit from Stab if I may. A seasoned Mexico traveler from the United States expressed concern, as far as we know, of an unprecedented event. Both Mexican and traveling surfers alike, David, arrived at the gates of Barra de la Cruz expecting to pay the usual 100 pesos to go surfing when they were turned away. This happened in late July, about 2 weeks ago. On Sunday, I was going to surf Barra, and the lady at the front gate told me the beach was closed for surfing this week, Tuesday through Thursday. One of the world's finest sand bottom points closed for a private function. On the phone, one source told us, and again, I'm quoting Stab here, even the people staying in Barra couldn't surf the wave. They totally shut it out. At first, I thought it was a contest, and we started asking around, and we were told, no, it's not a contest. It's just a group of 20 surfers from California, and they paid the locals close to $20,000 for 3 days to have the wave to themselves. Now, most Mexican surfers that Stab spoke to were astounded by the news. The entire area is run and owned by a tight-knit community, Barra de la Cruz. There's even a sign on arrival that essentially says, don't ask us about buying any of the real estate here. It's not for sale. The Mexican surfer told us the final decision was made by a local association consisting of 7 surfers. As one of its members, he claimed that they held deciding power and therefore opted to accept payment from the group of 14 Southern California surfers in exchange for exclusive access to the wave for 3 days. This transaction allowed for a quick influx of much-needed funds for the greater good of Barra and its inhabitants. What say you, Dave?
Capitalism at its worst or finest? I'm not sure. I mean, my take on it is, I'll give you this one free pass. Barra, like, you made a capitalist decision, line your pockets real quickly, but it's a bad decision overall. Like, if I traveled down there, if I was staying at that resort and I wasn't able to surf, you know what? I'm pissed, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to let everybody know how terrible of a decision your community makes. And so you want to protect your reputation. You want to have, make the best decision for the greatest common good. You want to invest in the future. This all feels like a very short-sighted decision by the local community leaders for a pretty nominal price, to be honest. It's a cheap price. And once you've hoarded yourself out in that way, guess what? Johns will start lining up and they're willing to keep doing it. And so if that's the path you want to go down, so be it. But there's other people around the world who are making a little bit more savvy decisions that are a better investment in their future to protect their local resource.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the big question is do we just open the floodgates to a lot of very wealthy surfers in North America? And there are a lot of them
Well, dude,
who can simply buy the month of August. Like,
yeah, here's the deal. To say how many groups of 20 can come up with $20,000? Tons of them, enough to book out the entire next decade or century of
I
your
think
surf
the
spot.
Kelly Slater Surf Ranch proves, excuse me, proves that out,
Yeah,
which charges whatever it is, 60,000 or more a day.
exactly. So you set a super low price. Look, everybody's got a price. Turns out yours is low. And you underestimated that. And so it was a bad decision. And you pissed people off. And now people are writing about it, on big surf media websites. And we're discussing it here on the podcast. And so it's just a bad move. You sullied your own reputation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
not cool, dude.
Yeah, I think more will be revealed, right? Like if we start to see entire points down in the Salina Cruz area just get locked down because, I mean, it's because one of the things is that at that pricing structure, when you start to get to like, hey, it's $100,000 a day for us to lock down and you can have it all by yourself. Well, for the person that has $100,000 a day, that's like $100 a day. Like that's not a big deal for the person that, you know what I mean? Like that's just like no problem because we're talking multi-million, 100 million billionaires that are going to be able to do that. Now, I don't know. Well, more will be revealed on that, right?
Well, but that's the thing. I said everybody has a price. And you, as the stewards, the local community leaders of this incredible resource, need to understand the value of your resource. And $100,000 a day, maybe that's enough to feed the whole community, make sure everybody has water and power and clean, whatever, access to clean everything, sanitation, all that stuff. And so you make the decision for the greatest good, for the greatest number of people. But the $20,000 for 3 days thing is only going to get you through to the weekend. And all that's going to do is piss people off from wanting to come here and spend money in the future. So it's a terrible business decision, community decision. So that's why, like, yeah, 100K a day, maybe that makes sense. Maybe it's $1 million a day. I don't know what the number is for your community, but you need to think a little bit broader than
Yeah.
it sounds like they were thinking.
Well, it should be noted too that in 2020 there was a federal Mexican law that was passed that basically is like the law here in the States, which says that if you own property that fronts the beach, you have to allow public access through your land so that the public can reach the beaches that don't have road access. And whether or not that's going to be enforced, especially in Mexico, is yet to be determined. But let me say this along those lines. I'm going to throw out a little, a good friend of mine, Danny, who runs Rancho Surf Tours. David, have you been to Danny's place, Rancho Surf Tours? Well, you're of course invited. But my buddy Danny's telling me that it's pretty empty down there right now in the Salina Cruz area, in that whole Hualtuco to Salina Cruz area. And he's offering a special. So it's like a surf splendor or a spit or a boardroom special, if you will. It's 6 people for the price of 5. So if you can get 5 of your friends together, you can go for free, or you can figure it out with your friends how you want to divvy it up. All you got to do is go to Rancho Surf Tours Instagram, Rancho Surf on Instagram, and send Danny a direct message. Tell him you heard about it on our show, and he'll offer you a special deal. You know what's interesting is that the direct flight from Tijuana to Hualtuco has been diverted for the most part. You have to go through Mexico City again, which I think is kind of putting a bit of the squeeze and the kibosh on surfers, because that was really kind of a fun part of it, is that you could jump from TJ and be down there in 2.5 hours going through Mexico City. Anyway, it's empty. It's according to Danny, it's been an empty season down there, and I don't know if that's part of it is the flights, or if it's all attention we had such a great season in Indo, everyone's surfed out, and I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either. And I will state in reference to the story, or kind of final thought on the story is, despite me thinking capitalism is a pretty good structure and kind of works, I think beach access for all is important. You know what I mean? Just as a global citizen, I think the ocean is so therapeutic, beneficial. Everybody within reach should have access to it and should not be blockaded. Even if you own property, that is on the beach or whatever, it's ridiculous to think that you could quarantine that area and make it unavailable to anybody who comes down to enjoy the ocean.
So you're saying capitalism, but with regulation. You're saying regulation on some form is a good idea. In other words, unabashed capitalism where all markets are just open and we let it run wild could cause problems, say like drug addiction or prostitution or selling of human organs.
Erosion of the middle class, even.
Okay, well, fair enough. I'm a big fan of capitalism myself, but we probably do need some regulation as selfishness can sometimes run wild.
Can indeed. By the way, our friends at Surf Rider, I have a PSA to deliver from our friends at Surf Rider. We rally for volunteers, in the Surf Rider world. It's like, hey, the beach obviously needs to be cleaned up and we need human beings to come clean that up. But I want to give you some more information on what Surf Rider does just beyond that, because it's not as simple. Some beach cleanup's important, but what they do is they actually sort and weigh that trash, and they enter that data into a national database. Surfrider presents that data to elected officials to encourage them to pass laws and policies that address plastic pollution at the source. Styrofoam, we've seen styrofoam bans, we've seen the bans of single-use plastics or grocery bags or whatever. That all comes from this type of data. And so it's not just cleaning up the beach and like we all feel good about ourselves and pat ourselves on the back. Surfrider is actually doing litigation and law change work, legislative work. So they use these success stories at the local level and the state level to then build cases and momentum to take them to the federal policy change level. And so I think it feels futile, like sometimes to try to make, like, I'm just an individual, like, I'm not going to change plastic pollution in the world. You know what I mean? I'm just one person. But the reality is that they are tied in and integrated into bigger policy change. And it does start with one person. Going and picking up that piece of trash allows them to collect the data to then make that bigger policy change. And so they are doing incredible work beyond, I think, what a lot of people recognize and see. And this is their 40th anniversary. Their goal is to get to 1 million supporters. And whether you can volunteer for a beach cleanup, maybe you can just make a financial contribution monthly, 10, $20. Go to surfrider.org. That is where you start. Surfrider.org. Become a member. You will stay engaged. They will then communicate with you once you become a member. And in 2023 specifically, they collected almost 250,000 tons of trash. 35,000 volunteers contributed and made that happen. It was at 985 different locations, and over 1,300 miles of beach were actually cleaned up in those efforts to collect 250,000 pounds of trash. So those are the hardcore data numbers.
That's amazing. And the good people at Surfrider doing the good fight there, fighting the good fight. So that's awesome.
And us listeners work with them.
You and I.
Surfrider.org. Become a member.
Speaking of listeners, I want to tell everyone about the Boardroom International Surfboard Show. It's coming up in a couple of months. We are honoring as our icon of foam Bob McTavish. So Bob McTavish, the legendary shaper, a big part of the evolution of the shortboard, is going to be visiting, and he'll be here for that weekend, and that's going to be a ton of fun. And we've got all sorts of exhibitors signing up. Trees Wax, of course, our friend Christian at Trees Wax, Channel Island Surfboards, NVS, FCS, Hobie Surfboards, Weekend Vans, Kenny Shapes, Alva Surfcraft, Mamala Wetsuits, Nathan Gibbs, Art, Narvel Wetsuits, Christensen Surfboards, True Aim Fins, Bing Surfboards, Firewire, Chris Ruddy, Gordon Smith, Polyester Pig, Local Motion Surfboards, Rusty Surfboards, Josh Hall Surfboards, Future Fins, US Blanks, Maurice Cole Surfboards, Boyson Surfboards, DK Surfboards, Timponi Surfboards, Liddell Surfboards, Millennium Foam, Arctic Foam, Monero Wetsuits. The list goes on and on. I'm not going to bore you with the entire list here, but we've got an incredible lineup of exhibitors at the Boardroom Show this year. And it's going to be a ton of fun. Live music, of course, the Boardroom Show talks, Best in Show presented by Go Fast Campers, which is the Twinser category. And man, are we going to have some incredible Twinsers on display. And it's just a fun weekend of surfing. The whole thing presented by US Blanks, the Boardroom International Surfboard Show, October 12th and 13th.
I'm claiming it's going to be the best show ever. I think last year was the best show that I've been in attendance at, but this one, a bunch of people who have not, like Christensen hasn't been there in a few years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Christensen. He was amped. He was like super amped to be involved. Obviously, Tim Pony, you mentioned them being involved. They're a small operation on Maui, and just, I've seen Jeff came out, I think last year just to attend, but for them to organize and invest and build boards and ship them out and be a part of it is a big deal. So fresh blood, new energy, feels like the success of last year kind of buoyed everybody, and people are psyched.
Yeah, you're right. That's what's cool about the show is that there's a lot of small builders that are a part of it. Soma Surfboards has got a booth. SBMB Micah Betts has got a booth. I mentioned DK. So yeah, there's some smaller brands that are involved too, which makes it pretty core. And I love it. You know what? You're right. It's going to be the best one ever, Boardroom Show.
Yeah, I got a message from Rob Colby yesterday too, talking about mapping out his plan for coming. So I don't know if he's signed up or not yet, but he's planning to.
Yeah.
And
Colby Plus wetsuits will be there.
Yeah. And so I know last year we offered a discount for people who wanted to make the purchase and in advance even, and then just pick up the wetsuit on site. And we saw tons of people walking around with wetsuits that they got there at a discount, special Boardroom Show discount. So we'll try to do something like that again this year, because that's in the fall. It's going right into winter, so you'll need new suits anyways. And we'll figure that all out and make that available. Probably give away some wetsuits even here on air for our YouTube audience.
Man, I've been wearing my Colby Plus shorts, a long sleeve spring suit. It's so warm. It's such a good wetsuit. It's ridiculous.
They're the best, dude.
I absolutely love it.
So anyways, I'll be there at the Boardroom Show. Scott will be there. And that's the other thing, is that beyond all the exhibitors that you just talked about, it's a who's who of like Jerry Lopez cruising around, Tom Curran, Rob Machado. Like it's just surf celebs left and right, which is a young David Lee Scales' dream.
All right. Well, cool. What else do we got? Do you have a must-see moment or anything like that?
Yeah, I do have a must-see moment. While you're talking about Mexico, there's been some sick Puerto Escondido footage.
Yep.
Surfline did this thing with Corbin Campbell.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
Corbin's like such a good surfer.
Yeah.
I mean, flies under the radar. He's kind of an industry guy. Like I think he had a moment as a pro surfer at some point, but like he's just an industry behind the scenes guy.
Yeah.
Freaking amazing surfer. And so seeing that, I was like, that was super cool. But my must-see moment is actually 14, maybe 15-year-old Kalama Stratton. This 14 or 15-year-old kid charging. He's from Puerto, like he's a local, but he is charging. And so I saw the clip 3 days ago that he posted on a sick right. And, it's a sick Puerto wave that I was impressed by no matter what. And then realized whose account I was looking at. And this is a young teenager. And I was like, that's insane. So Kalama Stratton.
Yeah, he got an insane one spit out, and that was fun to watch. And you mentioned Corbin, and both. Yeah, you're right. Corbin's got a great style, always has. He's just one of those classic under the radar guys, like you mentioned. There's a lot of them out there that just absolutely rip, have great styles, and
there was a clip that they posted again. I think it was Surfline. They did a little feature on him or something, but him going left, there was a left that he got that was just so, I mean, it was deep, it was late, it was like, had these weird,
Backwashy things.
guttural kind of backwash bumps, and he just like navigated the thing so incredibly in the perfect position on a really, really scary wave. So he's an incredible surfer.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, look, next week, we're going to be talking about the day, well, how surfers get paid, season 2, episode 5. We're going to do a deep dive into that. That should be interesting. So
I watched part of it, and I'll just tease it for people who I encourage people to check this out. The production quality for Stab Magazine video stuff in general, but this How Surfers Get Paid series specifically, has gotten better and better. And even just 10 minutes into this, I was like, this is documentary. Like, this could be on Netflix.
Yeah.
That's the quality of the production, and the storylines are so compelling. I think it would engage a broad audience. I mean, some of the stories just within that 10 minutes, Mike Parson, his broken neck from big wave surfing, the Bruce wave at Cloudbreak is unbelievable. The story of Cheyne Horan inventing the inflatable wetsuit, he gives that detailed story. Greg Long almost drowning at Cortez Bank, they have that footage of him like being resuscitated on the boat and like it is.
That was like the first trip out there, wasn't it?
I'm not exactly
that was one
sure.
of the first trips out there, I think.
But it's like all these insane stories packed into the first 10 minutes of this thing. Interviews with Mason, Laird, Gurr, Makua, Evan Slater, Greg Long, Snips, Buzzy Kerbox, Nathan Fletcher, Bill Sharp, Daniel Russo, Kelly Slater, Kai Lenny, Albie Lair. It just goes on and on and on. It's really, really, really well done. So I have not watched it all. I look forward to it, but we will discuss in thorough detail next week.
Yeah, looking forward to it for sure. So go to Stab, get your Stab premium account. And by the way, we're not sponsored by Stab, but we love what they're doing over there. And so it's worth it. So
I don't even get a free account. I pay for my account.
I pay.
This is all just
I agree.
as a fan.
I pay too. They don't give us anything free. Damn them.
Yeah.
Anyway, all good. Look, David, until next time, adios and aloha.
All right, Scott, driftline.co, promo code SPIT. The water is still delightful, and you can benefit from Driftline. Wearing your drifties, you can benefit with 15% off by using our promo code SPIT.
Yeah, look, my feeling with the drift lines is I'm sort of, my days of giving a crap about what brand I wear are long gone. I'm all about utilitarianism and function. And oh, by the way, they're quite fashionable. Not that I give a crap, but what you get is 0.5 millimeter of Yamamoto lined underlining within this board short. And so you stay warm, you stay comfortable, you stay, none of the chafing that we often get. And I personally don't know how any board short company doesn't do this. Like, to me, it's kind of like, wait a minute, are you kidding me?
Because it's patented now. Driftline's patented. But the reality is, we talk about surfing all the time, but honestly, if you're doing anything like on a lake, if you were kayaking, if you were wakeboarding, if you're spending the whole day on the lake, like, this is the ultimate in comfort. And it's also going to provide a chafe-free experience, which becomes problematic if you're spending full days on a lake or elsewhere. So use it for all of your water sport needs, and use our promo code SPIT to save 15% on driftline.co. Do you have something else you're going to say? Okay, then let me turn off the recording.